Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a webinar hosted by United Charitable Programs. My name is Stephanie, and I will be today's moderator. I will be introducing today's webinar, as well as reading off any questions that you may have at the end of this presentation. As you may be aware, this webinar will guide you on how to operate as an active charitable program or fiscally sponsored program under UCP. And just to have everyone on the same page, an active charitable program and a fiscally sponsored program means the same thing. The names are interchangeable. I just want to make that clear because I know it can be confusing. Okay, but before we get started, I'd like to go over a few webinar housekeeping items. All attendees at this webinar will be muted. If you have any questions, simply type them into the comment field located on your control panel to the right of your screen. We will then answer them at the end of the presentation. And I just would like to make sure that everybody can hear me before we continue. So if you can, please, there is a hand icon located on that control panel. If you could just click that to let me know that you can hear me, that would be great. Just make sure you hit that little hand icon there. All right, so everyone can hear me. Great. All right, I'd like to introduce everyone to Katie Kern. She will be presenting today's material on what to do after your program has been accepted by UCP. Katie is the Director of Program Administration here at UCP. She manages over 700 different charitable programs within our sponsorship. Katie will be your main contact or point person throughout the run of your program here. She is able to answer many of the questions that you may have on UCP policies, procedures, and just about anything you want to do with your program. So now let's just switch it over to her, and let's welcome Katie.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. As Stephanie said, my name is Katie. I'm the Director of Program Administration here. And I will be your person that you want to call or email with any questions or concerns that you may have about your program. Now, this webinar is geared towards individuals that have just started a program with UCP or perhaps past program managers that want a refresher course. So we've titled it, Now That Your Program Application Has Been Accepted by UCP, What Should You Do? We're going to go over a couple of different things. UCP's mission statement, so you can familiarize yourself with that. Talk about our program manual that just came out last year. UCP services, about your program at UCP, and also your role as the program manager of a UCP program. Our mission is to empower people to help others by fiscally sponsoring targeted charitable programs that encourage positive change through charitable, educational, scientific, or religious actions worldwide. Now, all of our programs are located in the United States, but many of our programs choose to partner with NGOs or non-government organizations, what that stands for, outside of our borders to help others. One in particular, the picture that we have right here is Abendo Kids, and they're located in Kenya, and they help an NGO over there assist with feeding and providing safe drinking water to children. Before you begin your program operations, you definitely want to take a chance to read our operations manual as well as sign our fiscal sponsorship agreement. Both of these items are available on our website, which is unitedcharitableprograms.org, or the shorter version is unitedcp.org. Now, the program's operation manual is going to provide you with all of our policies, all of our forms, all of our procedures, and give you a better understanding of how to operate underneath our fiscal sponsorship. But if you feel like you don't understand something or if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. We'd be happy to help you. Our email to contact with questions is info@unitedcp.org, or you can call us on our main line, which is 703-536-8708. Now I'm going to give you my direct email and my direct line at the end of the presentation, but these two pieces of information are good to know in case you have any general questions. A quick kind of a recap of 2012. I'm very proud to say that we accepted 45 new fiscally sponsored programs. We created and enacted our new fiscal sponsorship agreement as well as our program operations manual. Our fiscally sponsored programs raised over $3 million. We found new corporate sponsors and expanded past relationships with Black Tie, Text to Give, Grant Station. Black Tie is a ticket registration kind of module where you're able to both interact socially through social media and also send out e-newsletters and sell tickets and sell auction items, things like that. It's a more sophisticated version of Registration Factory, which is available for free underneath UCP. Black Tie is available to all of our programs if they want to use it, but there is a fee involved with that. Text to Give is very similar to the Red Cross movement where you text in a number and then $5 is given from your cell phone bill. And there is a fee involved with that as well, but we've had a few programs be very successful with that. And Grant Station, which is a grants database where you can go in, find different grants available to, say, your particular area, your particular state, or even your particular program. But again, there is a fee additional for that, but it is less than the normal fee. I'm also proud to say that we added 3 new board of director members and that our fiscally sponsored programs received government grants, corporate sponsorships, public and private foundation grants, as well as individual donations from donors. Now, one of the main mantras that we have in our office is that we want our programs to be able to focus on the mission and not the administration. Now, when people come to us, they come to us with an idea or a charitable spark that they want to enact. But they don't want to have to figure out how to file a 990 or register in different state solicitations of funds. They don't want to file an independent audit, all those kind of things that you have to pay, let's say, a CPA or a lawyer, or take the time out of your busy life to do yourself. We do for you. That's what our fiscal sponsorship does. And our programs are then able to really focus their energy and their time on raising money to support the program and doing the program actually itself with its different activities and charitable missions. And we handle the boring administration stuff. Now, there are great benefits to being fiscally sponsored by UCP. The first main one that everyone really wants from a fiscal sponsor is tax-deductible donations. Now, you'd have to either be your own 501c3 or underneath the fiscal sponsorship of a 501c3 in order to give that full tax deduction to your donors. You have the ability to apply for grants. Most grant makers do require that you are either a 501c3 or fiscally sponsored by a 501c3 in order to receive a grant, both federally, state money, public or private foundations, and corporate sponsorships also usually require that you are a 501c3. You're able to focus your energy, like I spoke about before, on your actual program activities as opposed to figuring out how to file that 990 with the IRS. You're able to hold fundraising events, and you're able to incubate your charitable ideas while waiting for independent tax status. A lot of people come to us just so that they can get their foot in the door, get a better understanding of how the nonprofit world works, fundraise underneath UCP, and then when they're ready, they start out on their own with their own 501c3 and then request the available balance to go to their new 501c3. And we kind of call those incubator programs. Underneath UCP's fiscal sponsorship, there are a couple of things that you always have to do and you need to be aware of. The first major one is that you always want to state that you're a fiscally sponsored program of UCP. You never ever want to claim that you're a 501c3 standalone charity. Not that anyone would ever want to do that, but in the past they weren't very clear that they were sponsored by UCP, and they got in trouble with their state attorney's office. So we want everyone to make sure they understand who they're donating to, as well as that it is a registered 501c3 with the IRS. So the statement that we require that our program managers put on their website, business cards, marketing materials, things like that, is that you want to say the name of your program here is a fiscally sponsored project of United Charitable Programs, a registered 501c3 public charity, and then you're going to provide our TIN, or that stands for Tax Identification Number. You also want to always use the name or title Program Manager as opposed to, say, Director or President, because those are reserved for UCP corporate staff at our offices here. Something else to be aware of, you don't want to open any kind of accounts, including bank accounts or a credit card, underneath your program name or in the name of UCP or UCP's TIN. That includes setting up a contract or setting up a bill in the name of your program, because technically your project is not a legal entity, but rather a project of a legal entity. So it cannot have an account, it cannot have a contract, it cannot have a bill in its name. And you want to have express written consent to use UCP's name or tax ID number before you go out and do it. We have in the past been able to sign contracts on behalf of our programs or sign the grant agreements on behalf of our programs, but we do have to approve those first. Now, UCP program oversight includes many different things, but the highlights are we provide management, oversight, and supervision of all program activities. We want to be aware of what kind of fundraisers you're having. We want to know if you're going to go on any kind of river cleanups, if you're holding a 5K run, if you're having volunteers set up a booth at a local fair. We want to know what your program's doing. We also have donation deposits. I'm going to talk about it later on in the webinar, but basically we accept the donations from all of our programs, payments, program service fees, grants, and then allocate them to that particular program, but we handle that process with the bank for you. We send out donation acknowledgments to all donors that donate $250 or more, and that is an IRS mandate. We are required to send out substantiation or donation receipts to all donors of $250 or more, and that's required by the IRS. And we process disbursement from your program account. And a disbursement would be, let's say, a reimbursement to you for purchasing printer ink for your program, or a disbursement could be paying a web developer to create a website for your program. UCP also handles all the IRS and state filings. We maintain state solicitation and fundraising registrations in all states that are required to do so. We file the 990 as well as any state tax reporting that's required. We assist with the grant management reporting to funders with help from the UCP program manager. For accounting, we can provide year-end financial reports and donor summaries, and a lot of that is available through our online online account access, and I'll talk about that later on in the webinar. You can go and download Excel reports of all the donors in a particular year, or all the outgoing payments that you've made for your program, things like that. And if there's ever anything that you can't find on that online access, we'd be happy to provide it for you. We have an independent accounting firm come in every year and file an annual financial audit of UCP, and then we make that available on our website, again, unitedcp.org, underneath the financial and legal tab. And we do that because we want to be very transparent both to our program managers as well as to your donors, as they know who they're donating to and that we're a worthy organization. Again, our website is unitedcharitableprograms.org, and we have a couple of things online to help. We provide free websites to anyone that wants one. An example of the URL would be yourprogramname.unitedcp.org. We provide unique secure donation links for each individual program. That happens as soon as the program is set up. You're able to accept donations through credit card or e-check. And then once, let's say, a donor goes in and donates via online, you'll receive an email saying, John Smith has donated this amount to your program. And then a few days later, as soon as that has been processed by the credit card processor, those funds would then post to your account. And one of the great things about UCP is that we provide very transparent activity and balance access for you. You can go in and see what's been deposited, what's been posted, what's been deducted for our fees, what has been paid out of the program, and you're able to see in real time what the the program balance is for your account. We also provide access to our operations manual, forms, policies, and procedures, all on that website, unitedcp.org. Here's just a quick screenshot of our website. This is our main page. And in the blue main menu area, we have the program login, and that's where our program manager is going to go in and access their online account. And if you ever want to direct a donor to the website for them to donate, you also say you can go to the Donate to Programs, and then they're going to be able to find your program through its name. A lot of people get confused between United Charitable Programs tax ID number and a United Charitable Programs program account number. Now, a TIN, or a tax identification number, is an identification number used by the IRS in the administration of tax laws, and it verifies UCP's 501c3 status. On the other hand, a program account number is a number that separates you from the other programs at UCP, and it's a unique, individualized number that you're going to provide to us when you're, let's say, submitting donations or submitting a form, and you're going to be able to tell us exactly which program, let's say, a donation should be deposited in, or which program a disbursement should come out of. Now, UCP shares our TIN with all of our programs as a fiscal sponsor, whereas the program account number really doesn't have any bearing outside of UCP. You can definitely post it on your website if you wanted to, but it wouldn't really assist in any kind of donations, or your constituents and donors really wouldn't understand it. It's really what you would use to communicate within UCP. Now, the role of the program manager is both good and bad. There are pros and cons. One, you're the champion of the cause. You're going to be the face of the cause. You're going to be out there talking to the community, making those connections, getting those donors, getting those grants, finding those corporate sponsorships. But at the same time, there's a lot of duties and responsibility a program manager has to do. And we're going to talk about those in a minute. But the greatest thing about being the program manager is that you're the one that comes to us with that charitable idea. You're the one that has that spark. You see a need in the community, and then you identify it, and you identify how you're going to help. And that's why you became a fiscally sponsored program at UCP. And you're the one that's going to go out and enact different activities. You're going to be the one that's going to go and talk to your community leaders to help change things. You're going to be the person that's going to see your charitable idea or charitable spark come to fruition, which is a really great thing. Now, as the program manager, you're going to be the main contact with UCP, and you're going to have to maintain regular communication with us with things about program plans or activities, trips, fundraisers, any kind of major program expenses. An example would be, let's say you wanted to purchase a computer for the program. You'd want to take a look at that and make sure that you have the budget to support it. You're going to want to provide to us any kind of program marketing materials. Again, we're not going to really look to see if you have any kind of grammar or any kind of graphics that we want to have you put in there. But we're going to look to make sure that you correctly identify yourself as a program at UCP. You also want to tell us about any kind of change in a mission statement that you want to make, in the name of the program, or any kind of change in, let's say, a program manager's address, or if you want to change the program manager at all. Now, you have a few responsibilities. One of the main ones is to ensure that neither yourself or any relative or any business owned by yourself or relative donates funds to the program. Now, this is required by the IRS because of some legislation back in 2006. This doesn't affect 501c3s in general, just fiscally sponsored programs at 501c3s. And you want to ensure both that yourself and those involved with the program are trained in and committed to following UCP and IRS guidelines for nonprofits. And again, you want to make sure that all your marketing materials, like your website, your flyers, your e-newsletters, contain information about UCP's role as your fiscal sponsor for your program. And one of the great things about UCP is that there is no annual paperwork that you have to file. There is a yearly report that you send back to UCP, but you do not have to file an IRS Form 990. There are no state or federal filings, registration, anything like that. We handle it all for you. Now here's just a quick overview of program operations. An individual identifies a mission or identifies a need within their community, creates that mission, and becomes a program manager at UCP. That program manager goes out and raises donations through either fundraising events or perhaps a grant or individual donors, sends donations to UCP. UCP then allocates those funds to that particular program account. And then the program manager can then choose to disperse the funds either in the payment of activities or reimbursement of funds or payment of a vendor. And then all those kind of expenses are then used to further the mission of the program at UCP. So now that you understand your role as a program manager, here are a few things to get started on. One of the great things about a program at UCP is that you do have an advisory committee, and I always tell our program managers to use them. Don't be afraid to ask for their opinions. Don't be afraid to ask for their help. Now, this advisory committee is not a board of directors because those individuals reside here at UCP's corporate office. But an advisory committee contains 3 or more members. They have no legal capacity other than they're there to help with your program and advise on it. You're going to want to meet regularly. Usually our program advisory committees meet every quarter. They're going to assist you in finding program funders. They're going to help you engage the community. They're going to go out and find community leaders to talk to, perhaps give speeches about your program, get involved with community events. They're going to be also another face of your program and interact with your constituents. They're also going to help plan program activities and advise you on program expenses, budget, direction, things like that. Now, you as the program manager, you do have final say on the program, and you're going to be the person communicating with UCP. But your advisory committee is there to help. They're going to help you on all these different things to make your program better and also get more funds within the door so that you can help more people. One of the things about a program is that you do want to have a budget in mind when you're first starting out, even though you won't have a real idea, let's say, on what kind of expenses you're going to have or what kind of an income you're going to have. You do want to have a general idea about your program and its budget. Now, here are some potential budget items that your program may have. Let's say a computer expense, staff time, rent for an office dedicated to your program, printing, office supplies, travel expenses, program supplies, media or website expense, conferences or meetings that you may attend to further your program, event expenses, fundraising expenses, or postage. Now, those are just expenses. You're also going to want to talk about how you're going to get income in the door either through program event services, program fundraisers, program donations either from grants or individuals. Here is an example of our website again, and instead of being on the main page, we've gone into the forms and policy section, and you're going to use all these forms here to kind of work with us on your program. But one of the major forms is the dispersion request form, and that's the first one listed right here on your screen. One of the things about UCP and your program is that, unfortunately, as much as we'd love to be able to, we're not a grant-making organization, so we're not able to fund your program for you, but we are there to help. And we're actually going to have a webinar later on this year about fundraising events and how to run them, but they are essential to your program and its longevity. Here are a few examples of past program events that our programs have had for fundraisers: silent auctions, dinners, galas, pancake breakfasts, golf tournaments, chili cook-offs, musical performances, one that's pictured right here on your screen down in Florida, talent shows, craft auctions, car washes, plays, and there are many other types of events that might be out there that you'd be interested in. One of the best ones, one of the best money makers is the golf tournament. A lot of programs choose to have one of those every summer, and they pretty much fund the entire year's activities. Now, there is a fundraising and event policy as well as an approval form. And you do want to get it pre-approved by UCP before you go out and hold a fundraiser or an event. There are things on the approval form that talk about what you need to have, like, as I say, for a license or for insurance. If you are required to get event insurance, and most events are required to do so, you want to entitle it United Charitable Programs for the benefit of, and then your program name. You want to take a look at any kind of state or local regulations. An example would be most localities and even most states don't allow raffles unless there's a license, or don't allow raffles at all. State sales tax. Now, state sales tax really comes into play when there's an ongoing sale of items. Most of the time, for, let's say, a single day or, let's say, a 2-day event that happens once or twice a year, you're not going to have to worry about state sales tax, but it is an issue you need to look into each time. Also, we want to have an understanding of the budget of the event. We want to make sure that your program has the funds to support it, as well as this is a worthwhile event that you're holding so that you can get funds in to support your program. And the last thing that you really need to think about when you're having an event is that we have waivers on file for all of your participants and volunteers. A participant waiver would be used when you're having, let's say, a 5K run, and you'd also use those volunteer waivers for, let's say, if you're having individuals hand out water or assisting in a river cleanup, where there's an element of not really danger, but they could get hurt if there's an issue that they may have. You want to have that waiver on file. And then after your event, you want to get back to us with post-event reporting. We would love to know how the event went. We want to know if it was a success, or if you learned anything new, or perhaps you learned something that you want to do for the next time. Maybe you had a few issues. It's all kind of a learning curve, and once you do a few of these events, you get better and better at it. Here's an example of our fundraising and event approval form. We need things like the program name and account number, who to contact if we have any questions about the fundraiser or event, the name of the event, where you're holding the event and the venue that it's going to be at, as well as things like, is there a website being promoted for the event? Do you need to have any licenses or taxes, or are there any kind of things you need to file with the state or city government about the event? And you also want to tell us if there is going to be any kind of activity that your program may need insurance for. UCP handles the deposited donations and payments, but we do have our program managers submit them with a deposit form, and I'm going to show you an example of that in a moment. Now, we accept both payments and donations. A donation is where someone gives funds freely with nothing being given in return. And a payment is where somebody gives funds and then they receive something of value in return. An example would be a ticket sale. Someone purchases a ticket to your event or your fundraiser, and in return they get the dinner or the music performance, or perhaps they get to sit and listen to a speech or a play. And so they're getting something of value in return for those funds. So a payment would not be tax deductible. You're also going to use a deposit form to submit grants, event revenue, or program service revenue. You can also use the deposit form to submit paper credit card donations. Most of your donors are going to want to submit a credit card or an e-check online, but some of them want to use the paper form. And once you see those deposits take place on your secure access, you're going to see what fees have been taken out, as well as the available balance for your program. Here is an example of our program donation and deposit form. Again, we want to know your program name and account number. And then you're going to check off what kind of fees, what kind of funds these are. Is it a general donation? Is it a government grant? Is it a check from an event revenue or a fundraiser? Those are the kind of things we need to know when you submit these forms and these donations or payments. Now, donations, again, are collected by the program manager, and then they mail them into UCP with that deposit form. And you can have the individual, either donor or a payee, indicate that the payment goes to UCP / the program name, or UCP with the program name in the memo line, or the program name. Another big question that I get pretty much every day is, how do I request funds from my program account? Now, we use a thing called a disbursement request form, and I'm going to show you an example of that in a minute. We also use activity codes, and activity codes is really a standardized way for us to understand what expense you're making and why. Let's say you have a postage receipt. That particular activity code is 5010. So we have a standardized operating way of knowing what expenses are going out of our programs. Also, on a side note about activity codes, is we have a lot of activity codes listed on the form. However, those are just the commonly used ones. You are able to go to our website and see a list of all of our activity codes if you'd like. Now, we do process disbursement request forms in 3 to 5 business days. We do offer processing options and delivery options for faster processing or delivery method. For processing, we offer same-day or next-day processing. Same day is a $25 fee, and we do need to have it in our offices by 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next day is a $10 fee, and those are separate from delivery options. Now, normally we just send it out via USPS first-class mail, but we do offer things like a wire delivery or a priority mail, or even a FedEx overnight or 2-day delivery for additional fees. You're also going to be able to use that disbursement request form to request payment of taxable income for services. An example would be an individual creating the website for your program. They would be getting taxable income. And we call that taxable income, but we do have to report that to the IRS as well as provide a 1099 to that individual. There's a few things that we require when you're sending in your disbursement request form. If it's taxable income, we do need a W-9. You're going to want to send any kind of receipt if it's going to be a reimbursement, as well as any invoices if it's going to be a payment to a vendor, as well as a justification for the expense. We want to know why we're paying this individual to come make a speech, or we want to know why we're going out and purchasing 500 trash bags. They're going to tell us this is for river cleanup, or this person's speaking at a local pancake breakfast, things of that nature. Now, here's an example of our disbursement request form. Again, we're going to want your program name and account number. You're also going to tell us, who is the check going to be made out to, how much, where are we sending the check, do you want to have the check processed any faster or delivered in a method different from our normal method. And then number 4 is going to be your common activity codes that I spoke about earlier. Now, these are pretty much going to be the ones that you're going to use anytime you send in. However, if something doesn't ever fit with a particular code that you have listed on there, you can go and see our full list on our website. And number 5 is your justification. Again, we're going to want to know how this expense furthers your charitable purpose. We want to know why you're making this purchase for your program. And then the memo, you're going to want to tell us if you want something written on the memo line as a check. And since we're at the very end of our webinar, I do want to give just another quick overview of how UCP program operations work. The program manager identifies a need in their community. They apply to become fiscally sponsored. They go out, they start fundraising, finding the donations from your individual donors, finding donations from community businesses, corporate sponsorship, grants from either federal, state, private, or public foundation sources, mail those items into UCP for deposit. You're then going to be able to go online and check any kind of deposits, postings, fee deductions, and see your available balance. You're then going to request those funds to, let's say, reimburse or to pay a vendor, and that's all going to further the charitable mission of your project. And now you're ready to go. So this is the end of our webinar, but I want to make sure that I answer any questions that you guys may have. I hope that it was beneficial. And my name, again, is Katie Kern. I'm the Director of Program Administration. And my email is katie@unitedcp.org. And my direct line is 703-538-8867. I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie, and she's going to read out any questions that we may have. Stephanie?
Yep, it looks like we have a couple questions here. The first question is there any sort of referral program if I recommend a friend to open a charitable program under UCP?
That's a very good question, and yes, we do have a referral program. There is a referral associate agreement that we need to have on file first, but a portion of the application fee could be paid to you or given to your program for referring individuals to UCP. Okay. And you can send me an email at my email address if you'd like to get that agreement if you'd like.
Okay, and the next question is, I know you went over this, but just in case this person came in later, how do I know what my account number is or where can I find it?
You're going to be able to get that account number when you were first set up in an email form as well as what was mailed to you when you were set up underneath UCP. Let's say you lost that account number or lost that email, you can send me an email and I can get that account number for you. And it's important that you do have that number whenever you're going to call in or send us an email or send in a form of any sort that we have on our website. You're going to use that account number to identify your program among all the other programs that we have at UCP.
Alrighty. The next question is, as a program manager, can I get paid for the work I do?
Yes, you can definitely get paid for the work that you do. We have two types of employees. One is an independent contractor, and the other is a payroll employee. The differences between the two, let's say an independent contractor, an example would be a web designer that does ongoing work for your website, for your program. They have a task, they take that task, go to their own home or their own business, use their own materials, separate from the program, complete that task, and bring back a finished product. That's the independent contractor. Whereas a payroll employee would be someone like me. I'm here 9 to 5 on a set schedule. I use materials provided by the program, like this phone I'm using or this computer that I'm using. So, but within payroll, there are two types. There's salary payroll and there's hourly payroll. Let's say someone works part-time for the program. They'd be an hourly payroll individual. And you can always talk to Susan Andalora. Her email is susan@unitedcp.org, and her direct line is 703-538-8872. And she's the HR manager, and she'd be able to answer any questions you may have about payroll.
Alrighty, it looks like that's all the questions that we have today. I would like to mention that this video or this webinar has been recorded and will be available on our website within the next few days in case you want to go back and watch that and in case you missed something. Also, a link of the video will be provided in next Thursday's newsletter, so you'll be able to see it there as well. Or you can send me an email to Stephanie@unitedcp.org, or again to Katie's email, and we'll go ahead and make sure you get that link. And I also want to say that we are going to have a webinar again on the third Wednesday of March. It's going to be every other month that we have a webinar. Just make sure you check your newsletters for topics and webinar links that we'll have up there that you can sign up on various topics. So I just wanted to thank Katie for taking the time out of her busy schedule to be a part of this webinar.